Welcome to Movie and Recap. Two young boys named Qin and Hayu are shown in the opening scene. They are sold as slaves to a small hamlet after the war leaves them orphaned. They see the valiant arrival of one of the great generals, Uki, who is leading hundreds of soldiers behind him, as they make their approach to the settlement. The lads are obviously enthralled with his enormous power. When the lads arrive in the village, an old man gives them laboring jobs to do and merely a little stable to sleep in. They encourage one another in their efforts and do not voice any complaints in spite of the difficult circumstances. Their relationship strengthens through time and develops into a close friendship. Even while they are aware that eliminating the slave class is a difficult task, they yet harbor the same desire to rise beyond their humble origins and become outstanding generals. In order to pursue their dream, the boys spend their free time in the forest to practice their combat skills. They also make swords using wood in order to learn the sword handling techniques. Several years pass, and the two boys grow up, but they still continue their practice in the forest. It has turned them into remarkable fighters. One day, during their training session, General Cheng Wenjun spots them. He seems to be impressed by Hayu's swordsmanship, and thinks of a plan. Later that day, upon returning home after gathering wood from the forest, the boys discover that General Cheng is waiting for them. It turns out that his purpose of visiting the village is to search for a great soldier who can serve the king, Qin Jung. Surprisingly, he has already picked the soldier, and it is none other than Hayu. The latter is taken aback by this sudden development, and he wonders if it is the right time to depart. However, Qin, who is really happy for his best friend, encourages him to achieve his dream. He also promises that he will work harder and soon catch up to Hayu. On that night, before parting ways, the two best friends have one last practice duel, pledging to reunite in the near future. Starting the following day, Qin begins to train more diligently in the forest as well as in the hillside, with an unwavering determination to enhance his fighting skill. After several months of hardcore training, his strength heightens to the point where he is able to shatter a boulder using his wooden sword. One night, Qin is resting in his stable after his training when he hears a knock on his door. When he opens it, he shockingly finds a gravely wounded Hayu. In his dying state, Hayu talks about the turmoil within the kingdom. He reveals that the reigning king's younger brother, Sakyo, has actually hired some assassins to finish off the royal family. Before breathing his last, Hayu hands Qin a map and urges him to go to the marked village, from where he can find a way to fulfill his dream. After learning all of this, Qin grabs Hayu's sword and escapes the village just before the assassins arrive, reluctantly leaving his best friend's body behind. On the way, he comes across a group of local thugs who surround him and demand the valuable sword in his hand. Qin tells them to clear his way as he doesn't want to get into an unnecessary fight. But when the thugs don't comply, he, with the help of his long intensive training, easily takes down every one of them. A small hut. Once inside, he is shocked to discover an individual bearing an uncanny resemblance to Hayu. This leaves Qin perplexed as he is unable to comprehend what is happening. The individual turns out to be none other than the King Jung, who had run away from the kingdom. Jung reveals that General Cheng had intentionally brought Hayu into the palace due to his striking similarity to the king. This ruse was intended to deceive the undercover officials, who wanted to kill the king. Unfortunately, Hayu was sacrificed for the cause. Meanwhile, back in the village, the assassins, led by General Saji, find the lifeless body of Hayu. It takes only moments for the astute general to deduce the truth: the deceased individual is a decoy, while the true king is still alive. As a result, he issues orders to locate the king, dead or alive, as soon as possible. On the other hand, Qin is very furious at King Jung after learning that his best friend died in his place. But before he can exact his rage on him, they are suddenly attacked by an assassin sent by Prince Sakyo. Knowing that the assassins are the ones who killed Hayu, Qin becomes even angrier and starts fighting with the enemy. Eventually, using his superior skills, he manages to kill the assassin. After this, he gets back to King Jung and demands why he had to kill his best friend. In response, Jung reveals that Hayu bravely agreed to sacrifice his life in order to save the kingdom despite knowing about the potential danger. Furthermore, Jung also claims that he had to stay alive to prevent his younger brother from capturing the kingdom. If all the powers fell on Sakyo's hand, he would take no time to destroy the entire kingdom. King Jung then asks Qin to unite forces and assist him in reclaiming the throne, saying it is the best way to honor Hayu's sacrifice. In the next scene, we see Prince Sakyo, who is very angry to hear the news that his brother is still alive. His anger also extends to General Cheng, who hired a decoy to save Jung's life. As a result, Prince Sakyo orders the capture of both Cheng and Jung, demanding their heads as trophies. Amid their discussions, the formidable General Uki shows up in the palace and presents the severed head, claiming that it belongs to Cheng. Impressed by this, the prince appoints him as the kingdom's new general, charging him with the mission of apprehending Jung. Elsewhere, Jung and Qin are walking through the forest where they are soon accompanied by a mountain tribe kid named Helao Diao. Together, the trio makes their way through the mountain path. As they reach the bamboo forest, they are attacked by another assassin, who uses poison darts and an axe as his weapon. Qin grabs his sword and bravely engages in a fierce battle against the adversary. After an intense fight, he manages to slash the enemy's head with his sword, but one of the poison darts seems to have hit his body, rendering him unconscious. Following this, Jung and Helao take him to an abandoned resort to help him recuperate. A while later, Qin regains his consciousness and has a brief conversation with Jung. Before long, a group of soldiers arrive at the resort, led by none other than General Cheng, who was previously assumed to have been killed. Here, it is revealed that the head uke presented to Prince Seikyo was just a trick. Cheng, who is still loyal towards the king, collaborates with him to devise a strategy for reclaiming the throne from Prince Seikyo's grasp. However, Zheng is hesitant to go into battle, as his men are severely outnumbered by Seikyo's army of 80,000 troops. Hearing this, Cheng suggests seeking help from the mountain tribe, a former ally of the Zheng royal family that had been betrayed centuries ago. Cheng points out that they can form a larger army alliance if the tribe agrees. This convinces Zheng, so all of them head towards the mountain tribal area. After a long and treacherous walk, they all arrive at the borderlands of the mountain tribe's territory. But before they can enter the place, they are captured by the soldiers of mountain tribe and are brought forth to their chieftain named Yutenwa. Zheng extends apologies on behalf of their ancestors and implores the tribe's assistance in reclaiming his kingdom. The chieftain initially rejects the plea, citing the significant losses endured by the tribe due to the actions of Zheng's kingdom in the past. However, the king remains undeterred, and he explains the consequences if his brother claims the throne. Hearing all this, Yutenwa is impressed by Zheng's dedication towards his kingdom, so she announces that the mountain tribe will be affiliated with the Zheng royalty again. Having secured this alliance, King Zheng shares his plan to attack the royal forces from various directions. The next day, Zheng and his troops disguise themselves as members of the mountain tribe and advance toward the royal palace. When they reach, Yutenwa engages Prince Seikyo's advisor, proposing an alliance with the prince. The advisor relays this information to Prince Seikyo, and after a brief discussion, they agree to establish the alliance. However, only 50 of the mountain tribes are allowed, for now, in order to carry out the further discussion. In the next scene, the group of 50 enters the kingdom and soon launches their attack on the enemies. Adhering to their devised plan, Zheng divides his forces into two factions, one group, led by Xin and Cheng, while the second group, led by Yutenwa and himself. Xin's group uses the underground passageway to reach the throne room, while Zheng's group uses the main route. Although the evil prince has thousands of men at his disposal, they are of no match against the skilled king and the mountain tribes. On the other hand, Xin's group is intercepted by General Saji, who dispatches a giant executioner against them. Although the group initially struggles to overpower the giant, Xin eventually manages to kill him with a united group effort. After this, they break into the royal palace with the intent to assassinate Prince Seikyo. However, the prince remains seemingly unaffected as he has several guards under his command. Seikyo summons one of his most potent generals, Saji, to eliminate the intruders. The latter gets to work and easily overpowers a portion of the mountain tribe soldiers. Amid this confrontation, Xin is challenged to a one-on-one duel against Saji, which he accepts without hesitation. A fierce sword fight then ensues between the two, with both of them showcasing their exceptional fighting skills. Over time, Saji gains the upper hand, delivering some powerful blows that inflict a lot of damage upon Xin. Nevertheless, our hero's memory of Hayu and belief in his own dreams pushes him to continue. With his never-giving-up attitude, he finally manages to stab Saji to death. After witnessing the losing battle, Seikyo's council attempts to flee, but Helao stops him and gouges out his eye with a dart. In retaliation, the advisor stabs Helao before he succumbs to the dart's poison. Fortunately, Helao is safe, thanks to her strong armor. Taking advantage of this distraction, Seikyo attempts to flee, but when he reaches outside, he is confronted by his brother and the entire mountain tribe army. Zheng, with a single mighty blow of his sword, swiftly overpowers Seikyo, and then subjects him to a series of punches as punishment. But despite everything that has happened, he ultimately chooses to spare his brother's life. A short while later, General Uki, along with his forces, shows up in the courtyard and questions Zheng about the reason why he fought this intense battle. In reply, Zheng explains that he could not permit the abuse of royal authority by any traitors. Uki further inquires what he will do as king, and warns that he will behead him if he does not provide a satisfactory answer. Zheng reveals his resolve to bring China together during the Warring States period, even if it means deploying force to maintain peace in the long run. Uki is pleased with Zheng's response, and they decide to team together. He then gives the order for Seikyo's surviving forces to withdraw. But one of the resolute generals who is devoted to Seikyo disobeys. Instead, he lunges forward to take aim at Zheng. When General Uki sees this, he just smiles and then uses one skillful maneuver to render the entire force helpless. As Zheng returns to his throne in the last scene, Xin celebrates realizing that his and Hayu's aspirations have come true. Thank you for watching Movie and Recap, and please don't forget to subscribe, hit the notification button and leave us a like.